Was it a Z job? It was
ZJ.
a ZJ. That's what it was.
$15 for a ZJ. What's a
ZJ?
Good ass big man. You can't afford it. Oh man.
I think we're gonna have to do a Beer Fest episode one of these days.
It's gonna happen.
Or it's maybe a Broken Lizard week.
Yeah, that would probably be a good idea. Yeah.
From Club Dread to Super Troopers.
I was gonna say maybe we could pick we could do it could be a Broken Lizard week, potentially 2-week thing where we kind of analyze just what Broken Lizard is and cover the background of what they do and all that. And then we can pick out specific movies to do a review of them. And I mean, Super Troopers and Beer Fest are probably
they're the zenith, the pinnacle.
Yeah. I mean, I watched Super Troopers 2 and it was fine. I enjoyed it. But I mean, it just,
Well, I mean, it was like a movie that this is a really good sequel that should have came out a decade ago.
Exactly. And it's still funny. I mean, it was. I think we all knew what was going on with that, but whatever.
Yep, I think so. Yeah, it was a logical sequel, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it's whatever. It's fine.
Tale for another time is what it is.
Yes. Hold on a second. Let me check my settings real quick. Sorry, I'm just really, really anxious about the mic because every time I think I have it figured out, and then you get a recording, and I'm like, fuck, what is going on with this?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. All right, so we are settling into spooky season.
We sure are
hardcore right now. And what better way to look at, the time of year than analyze an actor's many on-screen deaths?
Well, hold on a second now. For the folks that do listen to this program, at one point in the time we did do these previews of the next week, and we kind of did away with those for a little while because we wanted it to be somewhat ambiguous, right?
Yeah.
But we also wanted to make sure that should something change in our schedule, which happens all the time,
very frequently,
that we're not pinned down to anything. But yeah, dude, I actually felt really bad when it came time to interview the absolutely fantastic Lew Temple, that some folks may be familiar with, some may not. His most well-known, or I guess I should say the one with the most fanfare that a lot of folks typically are aware of in the pop culture sphere. If you've been watching AMC for a little while, he was on The Walking Dead as Axel, one of the
he got a season, didn't he, as Axel? Or did he get 2?
No, he was in just one season as Axel. I think it was season 3 of The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
And I guess what we should do right now, Joe, is mention that there will be some spoilers here as we mentioned the deaths of Lew Temple throughout his career. He actually rivals, believe it or not, Joe, Sean Bean for the amount of times he's died on screen.
That's incredible, because I just assumed that Sean Bean was born to die over and over and over again as some sort of weird Olympian punishment. But apparently someone else is strapped to that mountain with him, and that man is Lew Temple.
It's true. Well, okay, so in Sean Bean's case, if you had to do it from an analysis of deaths per appearance, he tends to die quite a bit more just because of that. But whenever you have actors who have been in the industry for quite a long time, I mean, you're going to rack up,
a bit of toll.
Yeah.
Death toll there.
Yeah, there'll be quite a few, tombstones in your future. Or I should just say your collected works at this point. But yeah, in the case of Lew Temple, I mean, he's technically been around as far as acting is concerned since 93.
Okay.
That was his first appearance, I believe. It was called I think it's called Dragon Half. It was a TV
Dragon Half
miniseries. Yeah.
Okay. Is this a made for TV version of Dragon Heart, which came around at a similar time?
I don't know. Maybe it was like the pilot, dragging half of a heart,
I mean that is also the premise of Dragon Heart.
Chambers of the Dragon Heart. Yeah, I mean, so he's been around for quite a long time. Now some of these early appearances of his, I mean, technically he's uncredited because he was actually in Angels in the Outfield.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, back in '94, he was actually one of the catchers that appears in the movie behind home plate, and you can actually see him. He's like basically in like all like green. He's decked out in green basically, so he's pretty easy to point
one
out.
of the Athletics then.
I'd have to go back. Yeah, it's been a while since I've actually seen that movie. I just remember seeing a still shot of him because I mean he was a bullpen catcher for the Astros.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, back in the day, dude. He was a minor league baseball player, really good at baseball. Which we'll let him tell that story himself in our interview later this week. But yeah, dude.
Also, by the way, if you haven't seen Angels in the Outfield yet, go watch Angels in the Outfield. It was one of Danny Glover's more fun roles when he's not like chasing the predator from rooftop to rooftop and cursing at birds.
Yeah.
I mean, there's one scene where like you have the main two protagonists, not Joseph Gordon-Levitt, but his little friend. Like they win the chance to like take pictures with Danny Glover's character, who's the I think he's not the general manager, he's the head coach of the Angels, and you can just tell. I mean, Danny Glover just doesn't care, at all. And they have like, can you get closer, make it look like you like him, put your arm around one of the kids, and Danny Glover just haphazardly puts his hand on top of like the other little kid's head. And they're like, oh, okay, that's good. Yeah, that's okay.
He's trying.
He's trying.
Well, as far as Lew Temple's concerned, this he would be trying for quite a long time as well, and landing quite a few roles from the early '90s into the late '90s, of course. And actually, what a lot of folks don't know about him is he did a decent amount of voice acting work back in the day. There's a couple different TV series where he lent his voice to certain roles. I think this was all like right around the mid '90s. It doesn't make it into the conversation that we have in our full episode, but Lew and I actually kind of talked a little bit about how, after he left Major League Baseball and began to pursue acting, the voice acting roles were kind of a way for him to kind of get into the industry overall.
Oh, nice.
But kind of leading into his first death that folks may not be aware of. Joe, do you remember the original Walker Texas Ranger?
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure any and all of my absences in college were due to me and my friends deciding to watch Walker Texas Ranger instead of go to class. Not to say that I was in college when we had new episodes. Oh no. These were reruns that we had all previously seen, but just sat around and watched instead of going to class instead.
That's fantastic because he would go on to appear in Walker Texas Ranger a whopping 4 times. Never once playing the same character twice.
Ooh,
so he
would have accolade.
Yeah, he would first appear on Walker Texas Ranger in 1996 as Whit Gans, later as Nick Devlin, then as Louie. Louie didn't get a last name.
Didn't need it. Not with a name like Louie.
Nope. And then finally as Ali Almedo.
Ooh.
So, Joe, if you remember your Walker Texas Rangering back then, I believe Ali Almedo was actually murdered, and Walker Texas Ranger had to investigate his murder.
Okay.
And the reason why this is funny is because in the previous 3 roles he played in Walker Texas Ranger, he was normally a street tough or someone who got into a fight with Walker.
I mean, that's like 90% of the roles on Walker Texas Ranger is a street tough or someone who just gets into just takes a roundhouse kick to the face.
Oh yeah. Yeah, why not?
Absolutely. And then like the other like 10% is made up of the main cast and the overarching thug of the week.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And in which case, I think I actually said this to Lew that, you know what, Lew, you can take a roundhouse kick to the face like nobody's business. which he found hilarious. but but I mean, he had some great stories to tell about about being on that show. Like it was, I remember just when we talked about it, it was obviously fond memories, and of course, getting to work with Chuck Norris was not like torture or anything. So
I can't imagine. No, Chuck Norris,
yeah.
that'd be fun. Which I wonder if he'll ever make his way into the new Walker Texas Ranger or not.
Ooh, you know what? I could always text him and see
Yeah.
like, hey, Lou, do you want to be on the new Walker? Do you
I
know
mean,
people to get into that?
we can't get you on there, but we're just
Yeah,
wondering if you'd want to be on it. Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
like the Almedo family. Like
Hmm.
he has a twin or something.
Yeah.
The twin's back for vengeance.
Oh my gosh, how great would that be? Like I do know like new Walker is apparently completely detached from original Walker. So,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah, but still, like, why not? For some reason, have what his Lou's character just has continuity out of nowhere,
What if
and
they
then
had the Ranger verse
oh my
and
god,
and suddenly Joe, the worlds are colliding.
the worlds are colliding. There's the '95 GMC Sierra pickup truck just like blowing through interdimensional doorways.
Ollie, we have to go back. Oh man, that would be
We have
great.
to stop you from being murdered.
Well, unfortunately, Joe, there's no way that Lou could stop himself from being murdered because it would happen time and time again after this.
Hmm.
Now, do you remember a little Rob Zombie project called The Devil's Rejects?
Like, here's the thing, like, all of Rob Zombie, like, I love his music, but whenever it came to, like, his movies, I'm like, "This looks too hardcore for me." Like, I love horror movies, but, like, usually, like, gory horror is where I draw the line, I'm like, "I can't do gory horror."
Mm,
I just check out of it right away. Which is not to say, like, I don't know, like, zombie movies are always gonna, like, straddle that line.
yeah.
The ones I like obviously don't go, like, full gore and, like, whatever, but yeah, so I have not actually gotten any of the Rob Zombie movies.
They all, I mean, obviously they're very violent films, so I,
Mhm,
I don't blame you there. I actually enjoyed quite a few of them. I mean, The Devil's Rejects was the first one that I ended up, seeing. This was back
mhm.
in 2005 when it came out. And at that point, I wasn't really like intimately familiar with who Lew Temple was, right? Like I wasn't really like
Okay.
paying attention to his projects or anything. But this movie definitely left an impression with me because I feel like murder may be a little too light in terms of what happens to him.
It's too blasé-faire.
It's just you require elaboration as far as what murder means after this. So basically, what happens to this poor man? He plays a character named of Adam Banjo. He's actually stabbed to death
Mhm.
off screen,
Ooh.
so you don't actually get to see the
Mhm.
details of that. But before he was actually stabbed off screen, he was shot in the neck,
Oh.
and yeah, and then they actually skin Lou's head. It's also off screen, of
Oh.
course. Um,
Mhm.
but then his face is then worn by one of the characters to terrorize his wife, who is still alive in this movie. Um, and then yeah, at the end of that, they place Lou's face on his character's wife. So
That's pretty metal right there.
it's just yeah, it's a little
Whew.
just a little rough.
Wow. So I'm guessing the follow-up film, House of a Thousand Corpses, is just a documentary about Lou.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, I just remember when I watched this back in high school at this point,
Mhm.
right? Because this is 2005. I remember just kind of sitting back because this is before the Mark of Now, who has enjoyed, roughly 16 years of just hyper violent
Mhm.
movies and properties. And so back then, I still had that sweetness, that twinkle,
Yeah.
you know? But yeah, Lou
Mhm.
got absolutely destroyed in that movie.
Oh,
And
yeah. Oh, yeah, he was worn by 2 other actors.
yes,
So,
he was a garment for two other people. Which who could say that? Who could clearly
I
say
mean,
that?
yeah, again, like, if you were to have, like, a list of accolades in your life worn by 2 other people
Yeah,
and roundhouse kicked by Walker at least 4 times. Pretty high up on that list.
I was gonna say, man. I mean, Lou's got a lifetime achievement award already, and I feel like he deserves it just for getting roundhouse kicked and for having his face used as a mask.
Yeah.
So, I mean, pretty solid start there.
Mm-hmm.
He would actually go on to also star in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Beginning, which would come out the year after. I don't know if you've ever watched this one before.
I haven't seen The Beginning. I have seen, I think, both the original and the reboot, or I guess the remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but I haven't seen The Beginning. So I am unaware of how Leatherface got his theatrical origin. Well, other than, like, obviously he's taken Lew out. Is Lew going to be the first mask? Is that what happens here?
Actually, in the beginning, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Beginning, he actually has a fairly pedestrian way of dying. But he was shot in the head by everyone's favorite drill sergeant, R. Lee Ermey, if you remember, from Full Metal Jacket.
Oh, yep, it's there now. Mail call.
Yes. R. Lee Ermey does shoot Lew Temple in the head. So a little bit simpler.
Yeah, very. I mean, really, it's pretty tame compared to what Rob Zombie had in store for him, where he went through there. It's like, yeah.
Rob Zombie would once again call his name again to star in the 2007 version of Halloween.
Oh yeah.
Now, if you watched this film, though, like if you just watched the theatrical release, by the canon of the theatrical release, Joe, Lew Temple survives.
Ooh, that's really good. Oh no.
However,
uh-oh.
If you watched the unrated cut of the film,
Lew, no.
Lew gets his head smashed into a wall repeatedly until it becomes a jelly.
That is unfortunate.
Yeah.
Ow. Oof. Like, do you see the jelly, or is it more like a like an off/on screen of you just see Michael Myers? Okay.
No,
there's no splatter residual, like we assume that's his head. You see the whole. Yep.
Yeah, you just
watch zombie.
You just watch Tyler Mane taking that dude's head and just smashing it into a wall.
Oof.
It's notable. You don't usually look past that scene. It's usually right in front of you in the unrated cut of the film. So this is one of those choose your own adventure versions of Lew Temple and whether or not he survives. But yes.
Okay.
Yeah. For those of us that just watch it in the movies, in cinema, he's surviving that one. But yeah, when I watched the unrated version years later that I own, I was like, oh, he didn't make it. Didn't quite make it.
He was so close. So close.
But yeah, you know what though? Not every death is as graphic or poetic as that one. He actually in the Killing Jar. So this would be in 2010, a couple years later. He actually just gets shot in the head, standard death by Michael Madsen. Are you familiar with Michael Madsen?
Michael Madsen. Cannot say that I am.
Oh man! So have you watched Reservoir Dogs by Quentin Tarantino?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he plays Mr. Blonde.
Okay.
Who cuts off the police officer's ear? Dancing around to Stuck in the Middle with You.
Yeah, I mean that was artistic license. That's exactly why he did that.
Oh yeah, yeah. I do it the same way if it were up to me.
If it had to be done, that's the way to do it.
Yeah, but yeah, he's just shot through the head by Michael Madsen. Pretty standard there. And actually, he would go on to have a couple fairly low profile deaths here in Criminal Minds. He actually was on the TV show Criminal Minds in 2011, and I think he just gets shot in the chest. It's nothing crazy.
It's even more tame than being shot in the head.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's. I mean,
and especially when it's like that's gonna be like a network TV death. Like, there's not gonna be blood in that. It's just gonna be like, oh, there's a bang and Lew fell over.
I mean,
whoops. You get shot in the chest.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, this would be fairly standard for some of his deaths as we went through the years. So yeah, Criminal Minds, it would end up being shot to death. In 2013. Did
Mhm.
you ever watch the Lone Ranger remake?
Oh god, no, I wasn't touching that one. I saw that and I'm like, "You've got Johnny Depp as Tonto, and I'm not stepping anywhere near this movie." I
Mm,
have nothing against Johnny Depp, nothing against Tonto, but for some like, making a white guy Tonto,
yeah.
I'm gonna step away from this media backlash. It will undoubtedly happen.
Well, his death in the Lone Ranger, Joe, would actually come at the hands of the bank manager from The Dark Knight.
Oh.
Are you familiar with the actor William Feiner?
Oh, absolutely. He was funny. He actually was on, I think, a short-lived, BBC America production of Top Gear America,
Oh, nice.
and that was one where I felt bad because, like, it was actually a pretty solid cast. It was the episodes I saw were really well done, and it just didn't get picked up for another season. But yeah, no,
Yeah,
great guy. And oh my
yeah.
gosh, he was in, wasn't it, Drive Angry?
Oh God, yes, he was.
Yeah, he was in Drive Angry. He's the demon who just, like, really enjoys the Bee Gees.
I mean, here's what we're starting to see here, though, is that Lou is being murdered in these movies by some of my favorite actors, uh, and of course, William Feitner. I just can't get it out of my head where he's like, "You and your friends are dead. You know who you're messing with," and that's kind of what happens here. Will
Mhm.
Feitner's men in the Lone Ranger shoot him to hell, and,
Oof.
and he goes on to be buried by Johnny Depp later on.
Oh.
Uh, and of course they'd be reunited in Rango, of course, the
Yep.
two actors. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, this was touching burial. You know, he actually had some class in death on this one,
Oh, very nice.
but
Good switch from what
unfortunately,
he's
yeah,
used to.
exactly, because that would be the switch in The Walking Dead.
Yes.
And when I say switch, not necessarily because of being a classy death
Mhm.
necessarily. I would say really more of the tone and the process by which it happens. But did you watch The Walking Dead up to season 3 with Lew Temple
Oh,
as he was in
yeah.
it?
Yeah, yeah. I think it was because I watched through season either 4 or 5. Honestly, it gets foggy. Just because like the Walking Dead formula was just very, very I don't know. I don't wanna say obvious, but, like, yeah, it's like, yeah, the group finds a new place, they think the place is safe, it turns out the place isn't safe, shenanigans ensue, zombies are everywhere. Sometimes it's the humans' fault that the zombies got let in, other times, it's the zombies' fault the zombies got let in, but this is just what happens. So I know in season 3, this is when our gang stumbles upon a prison, which turns out is, like, a pretty great place to be in a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
well, I mean, ish, I guess,
Yeah, yeah.
depending on your point of view. But yeah, Lew Temple's time on The Walking Dead
Mhm.
was fairly interesting because of the twists and turns that happened behind the scenes. Not even just what happens in the show itself. But really, what we do talk a little bit about this in the main episode, so I don't want to give away too
Mhm.
much. But I mean, there was a lot of different storylines that were potentially going to be brought in from the comics, where Lou Temple is actually going to play the role of a serial killer, who is actually one of the survivors,
Mhm.
and they ended up changing it. I mean, so last minute, it was almost like a day of shooting. They're like,
Oh.
hey, you know what? A little too dark. We're gonna we're gonna bring some positivity into this one.
I guess, yeah. What was his backstory in that? Like, he wasn't, like, wrongfully accused, was he? No, wasn't he someone who, like, understood what he did and was serving out his time willingly? Like, "Nah, I did this to me, Imma serve it," and then he just I mean, obviously, zombie apocalypse, just keep living in the prison.
It's hard to really say definitively what he's there for, but
Mhm.
what they did do with the character was say that I think him and his brother, in some capacity, had like an auto shop or something, and you tend to get the feeling that, I mean, I know you've made fun of Zack Snyder for this, but uh, I think Axel just had one bad day, right?
Ah, yeah, it was a crime of passion.
Yeah, yeah. He just had one bad day, made some bad decisions, and boom,
Mhm.
he's in prison.
There he
And
goes.
And but yeah, so his character, though, as we were talking about the tonal change in some of the Deaths of Lew Temple, this one stands out for me, not just because it was one of my favorite shows and I loved his character on it, but they did do some collaboration with him because his character death wasn't exactly like foreshadowed or anything. And similar to some of the other decisions that occurred throughout that season of The Walking Dead, his death was also kind of fought over by many different people, whether it was the actors, the writers, the showrunners. They all kind of were like going, okay, what do we do here? Who do we sacrifice? And for those of you that haven't seen it yet, our friend Axel is unfortunately shot by the governor's men. The governor, who, of course, is
governor.
Yeah, he's fighting the free people's, the prison. But Lew Temple's in the middle of he's having some meaningful dialogue with Melissa McBride, and who plays Carol Pelletier. And they're kind of having like this pseudo, pleasantries, relationship potential type of thing, So they're just kind of shooting this shit, sharing some memories about the good old days, and Lou's doing a really good job, just kind of talking through what feels like a real memory to him. And then suddenly, he is shot through the head.
Bullets.
It was shocking.
His
it was
only
very shocking.
weakness.
Yeah, as he's falling to the ground, you can hear him say, "Nobody makes me bleed my own blood. Nobody." Yeah, that one was a very shocking death, and Lou has actually mentioned this not just to us during our conversation, but also to many others in previous discussions. That this was a death where they wanted it to be shocking, but they also didn't want you to have much time to recover from it, because basically as soon as he's shot, like like you don't see it coming, like it's completely silent. I don't think there's any music playing or anything. Just boom, Lou's dead. He's on the ground, and because of it, he gets used as a human shield by Carol as he's on the ground, just basically sitting there getting shot up.
I think it's what he would have wanted. He was clearly into Carol. Would have wanted her to make it out of there.
Yeah, it reminds me of like if his ghost came out of his body, like in like Harry Potter in the Goblet of Fire. It's like, you take my body back to my father. Take my body back, and he's just like, hey, just use me as a body shield, okay? And
yeah. No, I'm in the same boat. If this is permission for literally like you and Chelsea, and probably Matt, like it's just the three of you. If for whatever reason we get stranded in a mountain, I die first, you go ahead and eat me. I don't care. Cook me up. You guys survive. I'll be happy I helped my friends in the end.
You guys heard it here first. You heard it here first.
Yep.
If Joe dies, whether it's on screen or off, he will be consumed by the rest of the party.
Yep. And it's okay. I'm even going to say, you go for the legs first. That's where the highest fat content's going to be. That's where the most meat is.
Oh, man. Well, speaking of the meat of this conversation, Joe, we have mentioned Sean Bean before, right? About how many times he's died on screen.
Yes, but no more, as he has said he will no longer die in any parts.
Well, Joe, in 2014, in what's called Wicked Blood, Sean Bean actually kills Lew Temple.
Oh. So do you think that was decided by like a coin flip? Like, here's the deal. Both of you two die a lot. We just flip a coin now. Whoever wins gets to live in this picture.
Yeah, no matter who dies, we all win. I mean, so far, Joe, we've got a couple notable deaths here, right? By actors that you probably know, right? We've got Bill Moseley kills him in The Devil's Rejects. He would be killed by Michael Madsen, William Feiner, and now Sean freaking Bean, the master of death
himself,
on screen,
comes to reap Lew.
Yes. Oh man. And speaking of reaping, the rest of the deaths here, as we get a little more recent throughout his cinematic history, okay? Like, I don't want to give away everything, because I actually kind of felt a little bit bad about this. We were talking about so many of his projects during our conversation that we kind of skip over 31. Have you heard of the film 31?
That I have not. No. Is this like that one time where Jim Carrey kept finding out that everything just equaled 13. So this is 31, and maybe nothing equals 31, and that's the conspiracy.
Not quite.
Okay,
This
I was
is
way off. That's fine.
Yeah, this one's slightly different.
Mhm.
What this actually is, it's about 5 carnival workers. We're not going to use the derogatory term that some folks would use for carnival workers.
Austin Powers definitely uses that. He's not
Yes.
afraid.
Nice. They smell like cabbage,
Yeah,
small
small
hands.
hands.
Well, 5 carnival workers get kidnapped the night before Halloween. So if you work in the carnival industry, folks, just be careful. But
The
they
night
get
before Hallows Eve. Yes.
Yes. Oh yes. Yeah, they get captured and they wind up in this compound, and their captors are basically these folks who are like literally wearing powdered wigs.
Okay.
and
So the bourgeoisie have taken the carnies. That's what you're saying.
oh, absolutely. Yes. It's a life or death game called 31.
Okay.
And for the next 12 hours, these unfortunate folks have to fight for their lives against an endless parade of homicidal maniacs.
Ooh.
So
You know,
if you
for a second there, I was gonna also wonder if that particular Halloween Eve fell on a Tuesday, and one person was out in the woods that night hunting for sport.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing when you're walking
This-
all alone in the woods and your phone is dead, but out
Yeah.
of the corner of your eye, you spot him.
Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah, not quite like that, but really what was fun about 31, and I'm not saying I enjoyed the murder, but basically the people that are out to kill you before the 12 hours are up
Mm-hmm.
are called the heads. And
Okay.
our friend Lew Temple is Psycho Head.
Ah.
So if you look at the promotional stuff we've got out for this week, we do actually have an
Mhm.
image of him from this where he's like wearing like it almost looks like a skin mask. He's got like leather straps. I mean,
Okay.
it's pretty intense.
Mhm.
And Psycho Head has a chainsaw that he actually falls into a little bit later.
Oh, that's no way to go.
Yeah, it's a little bit different.
Okay.
Um,
Wow. So, would it give away any part of the plot if I asked what 31 means? Because so far, it's only for 5 hours, and there are 12 heads, and that
no,
doesn't add up to 31 nor multiply.
it's actually 12 hours and 5
Oh,
heads.
okay.
And I
Mhm.
don't want to go any further because it would potentially give it away what happens
Okay.
next.
So if 31's the main plot, then we won't give anything away. We won't go any further.
Yeah, 31 kind of falls into this weird area for me because it's 2016,
Mhm.
and it's actually one of those movies that I don't know if a lot of folks know about.
Mhm.
So that's why when we say spoiler alert at the beginning of these episodes, sometimes we mean them, sometimes it's just tongue in cheek, and,
Yeah.
and you can tell we're just kind of joking about it. But in this case,
Mhm.
this movie is fair, like it's recent enough to where I don't know if folks have had a chance to check it out.
Yeah.
And because of Rob Zombie also being involved with this one, it's one of those films where I'm like, yeah, you know what? I think I'm going to leave some of the plot details out.
Mhm.
But if you've been picking up on this, Joe, I mean, Lew Temple and Rob Zombie is just a recipe for success and just really fun ways to kill people.
Especially Lew Temple.
Especially Lew Temple. um, to round out our journey, though,
Mhm.
there are 2 more fairly high-profile deaths for Lew
Ooh.
Temple
Okay. What do we
at
got?
at the hands of folks
Mhm.
that are also fairly well known in the industry.
Okay.
So we'll just kind of quickly boom these. So there's a movie called Kidnap in 2017 starring
Mhm.
Halle Berry, where Lew Temple ends up being murdered by her.
Oh, so quite the opposite of Taken.
Yes, quite the opposite, except Lew Temple's doing the takening,
Ooh, okay.
and Halle Berry gets revenge on him.
I mean, good for her.
Yeah, good for her.
Yeah, way to get your captor back like that, Halle Berry. Proud of
Yeah.
you.
Well, it's not even necessarily her. It's her
Oh.
child.
Oh,
Yeah.
revenge
Yeah.
from the lineage. Okay.
Yeah, this is actually a pretty good movie, so I'm not going to give this one away either because it
Mhm.
falls within the last 4 years. So, let's let folks get caught up on that. But it's about human trafficking.
Mhm.
Still a very entertaining movie. If y'all haven't seen that, definitely check it out. Our friend Lou's in it. Unfortunately, we've kind of blown what he does in it, but Either way,
All right, yeah.
rest in peace. And then Acceleration 2019.
Mm-hmm.
He shoots himself in the head while playing Russian roulette with Sean Patrick Flannery of Boondock Saints fame.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And actually, his name is Dominic in that film. Which those of you who know, that's the name of my son, and also the name of our friend from Inception, Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yep, and from the Inception episode, every time you said "dumb," I would just for some reason I always went straight to like, I don't know, Mark was talking about his kids so much this time around.
And
So I always went.
these people talking about their kids all the time. I just can't get away from them. But yeah, so Joe, this is. I mean, I might be wrong on this because Lew Temple has been around for quite a long time in the TV and film industry here. But
I mean, yeah.
I think that gives him a total of about, I want to say 11 or 12 deaths that I can remember, right? This is just from stuff that I've seen. So for an actor that I know and recognize, I would say that dying a dozen times, I mean, I would say it's pretty respectable.
I think so. I mean, do you think he'll decide to be done at a baker's dozen? Like, okay, no more. You get one more, Hollywood. And then Lew lives from this day forward.
Well, I mean, he's still working, Joe. He's always he's got all kinds of projects coming out at the end of this year, which a couple of them are like, like Western films that are guaranteed to have shootouts in them. We'll see what happens there. But I would say that Sean Bean, you are on notice. I mean, even though Sean Bean has died 25 times on screen, for Lew Temple to be about halfway to him, I really do think that he might take the title one day.
Plenty of steam left in him. And speaking of taking that title, since he's coming up in Westerns, do we want to take bets on how Lew bites the dust in at least one of these two Westerns?
Oh, you mean so the murder at Immigrant Gulch?
Yep.
Well, considering that I saw a couple stills of him from this, and he's like firing a long rifle, I'm not going to say he's going to die in that one.
Okay.
I'd like to be wrong, but because he's like further away from the action, maybe that means he'll survive. But now I'm kind of in my own head because that's the moment when someone's like looking down, taking a long shot, and then they like pull back from the rifle, and someone's right there. Ooh,
yeah.
Murdered Immigrant Gulch. I think I'm gonna stick with it. I'm gonna say he survives this one, Joe. What do you think?
Well, I think because it is going to be unexpected, and from another movie, I've heard there's just a million ways to die in the West. I think everything's gonna be like nice and fine until right the last second he falls over dead, and they have no idea why. He shrieked in pain, by the way, as he fell over, and they have no idea why. And then they notice a rattlesnake go right out of his boot.
Oh my God. I have some respect for this man, Joe. He had his face cut off, and it was worn by two different people. I think a snake is just, it's too lowbrow for him.
Okay. Next Western. How's he dying in the second Western?
Well, okay. So this is actually one that I haven't seen yet. Not later this year, but he was in like it was like a concept film where it was like in the West, there's zombies involved.
Oh.
And I can't remember the name of it because I was never able to get my hands on it if it did come out. So I'm not sure if he died in that one. But what's the second Western that you're discussing, though?
What did you say? He was in two Westerns coming up?
No, I knew of at least the one.
Okay.
Immigrant Gulch, but I don't know about the second one that you're referring to.
Okay, I thought you were. I misheard you, and I thought you said it was two. But if he gets a second one, someone poisoned the water hole. He's the first one to figure it out, and by figure it out, that's when he dies first, and they figure out there's a problem because someone poisoned the water hole.
So instead of creating original deaths for Lew, we'll just take all of the ways that Woody from Toy Story could have potentially died.
I mean, if you could not harsh on my creative license here, Mark, I'd appreciate that. But yes, he's definitely gonna die from all of Woody's like pull string comments from Toy Story.
I guess it could be worse.
Yeah. I mean, it's either that or like he gets trapped in a mine because he refused to hand over the deed to his land. And that's an unexplored Toy Story Western trope.
Damn it. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, folks. The way I see it, I don't think that we're going to have any more Toy Story inspired deaths, but I can't wait to see what happens because he's probably going to continue working with Rob Zombie. They work really well together. They have a very good relationship, and so let's see if we can top the ones we've heard. I think he's beyond just gunshots. Okay, like we need something crazy. So for those of you that listened in, why don't you tell us in the comments when we post this episode how you think Lew Temple should die in the future? In a film, not in real life.
Not real life, yeah. Mm-hmm. Maybe skip on some of the detail. Like, you don't have to be fully descriptive, but something anecdotal.
Yeah, this isn't an essay where we require full sentences or anything.
No.
Complete sentences, as the academians
you could just put down falls down elevator shaft.
There you go. Well, we are only a few days away from our episode with Lew Temple, so we can't wait to show you that conversation. But in the meantime, check out his catalog. And I know we've blown almost every movie he's been in for the last 20 years, but there's some fun stuff there. So go ahead and check out his filmography while you can. And stick around later this week. We're going to have Lew Temple on the show talking about some of his early life, some of the influences that he had, and a career in the film industry.